To talk to him about being on top of the tennis world.
You know, as a kid, you know, I've always maybe said that I wanted to be #1, but the reality of it, it's very tough to do. I think you, first of all, need the ability to do it, and you have to really want to be #1. You know, it's the difference between saying it and wanting it. Now that I've gotten there, I want to stay on top for as long as I can, and I just, as a youngster and growing up, I've wanted to develop a game that really didn't have any holes, that I could stay back with the couriers, or I could serve and volley. I can kind of have an all-court game, and I think that's a game that can win the French and win a Wimbledon and win them all. In 1 year, great. If not, then that French Open is something that is going to be a huge challenge.
Back now to the match. Becker serving, 15-love, 1 game to Sampras. Wide.
From center, 15.
Sampras idolized Rod Laver in his youth and tried to model his game round, as Cliff's told you on numerous occasions. He had two-handed backhand when he first started, but developed a one-hander. This year at Wimbledon, he actually practiced with both Laver and Rosewall.
Borrowed a racket to do that.
And he was asking Rosewall about his slice backhand. I think that's something that Pete used a lot on the grass courts at Wimbledon, but that's something that I feel that indoors on carpet he could use a little more
15-30.
on his approach on the return of serve. If he's going to chip and charge, very difficult to chip and charge when you have to plant that front foot and roll your backhand, come over the top of your backhand on a backhand approach. $15-30. Good solid serve, pinpoint accuracy, not a lot of power. This is the opening service game for Becker, and he goes directly down the tee. Sampras looking for it straight at him or the other way. It was just a good solid first serve. Well, those two serves have been 171k and 166, so you're talking about just over 100 miles an hour, between 103 and 106 miles an hour.
Becker has got up to 125 in the event, though, so he's got a long way to go. Remember when the adrenaline was flowing at the end of the match yesterday, he sure was cranking it up at the 120-mile-an-hour level.
Well, I think if you can serve them at 105 mile an hour, 106 mile an hour, and get them in the corners the way he did there on that forehand side or out wide or even down the tee, there's not much your opponent can do. And it's a nice, relaxed service motion, that game, a very clean game from Becker.
And even the one double fault from Becker, we've seen him double fault a lot because he is going so much with a big second serve.
Not including Davis Cup, Becker has had good results here in Germany. 47 and 18 career, 8 and 2 in 92, which was a great year for him when he won the World Championship here. 7 and 2 this year. He says that this German crowd expect miracles of him, and they do.
When you dissect the game here, just my personal thoughts on the two players, I think off the ground from the baseline, I think Sampras has got a slight edge. I think he's a little more consistent than Becker off the forehand side. Return of serve, I've got to go with Becker on the backhand and Sampras on the forehand. And the serves, well, that just depends on who's serving at their best on a particular day. Volleys, Sampras.
I thought you'd have given Sampras the serve going away, Fred. I would have anyway.
I think it's a better motion, Cliff, but if Becker continues the way he is, and the second serve, I think Becker uses his second serve, or he has this week, used it better than Sampras.
Now, we've been talking about it. He's trying to uncomplicate it with Nick Bollettieri as his coach, and he has succeeded. There were just too many movements in that, so there were too many things that can go wrong, and one of the secrets of the sport is to try to uncomplicate it. And Becker's done that, but he's 2 games to 1 down, no breaks, first set, best of 5. Take it easy, everybody. It's going to be a great afternoon at tennis. City of cathedrals and it's really a great deal of charm. Home of apple wine too. 2 games to 1. Sampras leads.
Last summer, Boris Becker was reading some Goethe, some Hermann Hesse. He can read some pretty serious stuff. You don't see him flipping through the tabloids in the men's locker room.
If he did, he'd read a lot about himself.
That's exactly right.
Here he would anyway.
Once again, he's come out with such a nice, smooth rhythm.
That was a good change-up too, because the first one went out wide to the forehand and it was a let. Sampras looking for that, and now this time right down the tee. It's his 4th ace. Straight at the body on that first serve. So Becker's tournament stats through 4 matches. He's 46 aces. 14 against Bruguera. There, the service points won 78% over the period of the week, and break points saved 71%. Pretty good stats.
He's only been broken 4 times in 4 matches. Pete was broken 6 times in all, and twice by Becker. Actually, what got Pete Sampras in trouble in this event was that he lost in straight sets to Boris, and that made it. It made it very dodgy for him to even be around for the weekend. So yeah, this is a big difference, I think, between Becker and Sampras. Becker will come in all the time, first and second serve. Sampras tends on this court to be hanging back a little bit because it is pretty slow.
And on the return of serve, that's a slice one there. He had the racket underneath. He didn't really slice it, but Becker looks at one rank. Look at this. This is the perfect spot to hit a forehand volley. Round about waist high, eye on the ball, head of the racket up until you finish the shot. I think that Becker on that second serve comes in, and Sampras really doesn't get the ball down. He hits that top spinner, so he's got to time it a little bit better. Becker's a little more flat on the backhand return when he goes for it.
15 love. While you were talking about the round robin, Mary, let's point out to everybody that Boris Becker really allowed Pete Sampras to be in this championship match, as you see the replay of that volley, because Becker beat Stefan Edberg in 3 sets. But Sampras's fate was in Becker's hands, because in the 3rd set, if he had lost to Edberg, he would still have been in the semi-finals, and so would Edberg in place of Sampras.
Good safe volley here from Sampras, and he picks off the cross-court passing shot. He knows that Becker's played that from way behind the baseline. If he just gets it over the net, a good firm wrist made the shot.
Steered it in. 30-15.
This is a shot that I feel Sampras has to use against Becker a little more. He did not use it in the first the match in the round robin, the forehand down the line. Becker floats that down. You really can't reach that if you're coming in to make the volley because of the height of the shot.
Yeah.
Well, this match has started off at a crackerjack speed. This is a brilliant return, and Becker comes in as he should to make put the pressure on Sampras, and Sampras answers it. Becker with a diving volley, but then Sampras keeps his eye on the ball. He doesn't watch his opponent moving at the net. He has to keep his eye on the ball to make that shot.
We're going to take a break. No breaks have served yet. 3 games to 2. Sampras, top player in the world, is leading. Boris Becker so far has made $665,000 this week. Pete Sampras has won $575,000 this week. The winners here today will take home another $650,000. So it's be 1.315 or 1.160 in millions of dollars for a week's work. Not bad.
ace number 5. And again, just a slider out there, halfway up that service box. No way Pete Sampras can reach that one.
3-2 Sampras. 15 love.
Oh,
Boy, he's hit that one down there. Sampras has got to be aware of that, because that ace has been down there on 4 occasions. He's come up with 4 aces right down the tee. I think the strategy that Coach Bollettieri and Becker have talked about here is really paying off, because he has not yet gone for that big booming serve. He's just 3/4 pace and pinpoint accuracy.
Very sweet move there from Pete. Looking for this forehand. Look.
This one doesn't quite get out as wide. It's only 1 step for Sampras, and he drills it back cross court. That's his favorite return off that deuce court, is the forehand cross court.
6 aces for Becker, 2 for Sampras so far.
Actually, that cross court forehand cost him against Becker in the first match. He did not go down the line on 1 return, and Becker was picking off forehand volleys just as though they were just routine.
The
Great
running
shot.
forehand.
Yes. Down the line, clean winner for Sampras. It's 30-all.
It's such a good shot of Pete's, and he likes going after it. I mean, he really, his footwork, I think, is terrific going for this running forehand, because he knows he makes his shot a lot.
Becker wouldn't have reached that had he covered it, because it came from way outside the court. About, watch this, it's about 6 feet out the court, and it gets right in the corner. So it would have been out as it went past Becker. It got inside the court, right around the baseline area. There's that serve again.
7 aces for Becker, and Sampras just got to wipe his brow and go for the next one. That running forehand is such a dangerous shot, as you two have said, because you can't really cover for it, because the angle that he can get if he goes cross court is just too dangerous. Game point.
Well, that'll bring his first serve percentages down, but through 3 games of serving, he's up there at 80% of first serves in. Sampras is at 40%.
This match has started out on a high note, hasn't it? I mean, these two have realized that they need to get out of the blocks very quickly. 3 games all, first set.
Winners with Sampras and Becker, pretty close there. Unforced errors, Becker's come up with 5. But in my opinion, it seems the strategy that Becker is using now is to go to the Sampras forehand. He hasn't served to Sampras's backhand. He's mixed it up probably about 8-2.
That's wide.
Boy,
But close.
that sends a big message to Sampras. You know, the measure of this match will be where both these fellows are going to be taking their first volleys from. I mean, Sampras got in nice and tight on that. And Becker still just barely missed.
Some of the crowd don't realize, Mary, that it was called out.
Until the score was called
Yeah.
now. Sampras has got to also lift his first serve percentage. Becker's a nice healthy 75, Sampras 44. That one had a lot of movement on it. Broke away from Becker.
Becker is fond of saying that matches like this really are more than just tennis. There's so much more involved. To the extent that that's true, and it's a mind game, he's in terrific shape here. He is mentally as strong as I've ever seen him. Incidentally, Becker's number 3 in the world right now. If he wins this match, he'll be number 2 behind Sampras.
Big crowd on hand here, and Sampras' tournament stats through 4 matches. He's come up with 50 aces, served 20 of them against Agassi. First service points won, 82%. Net points won, he's been in there a lot, 63%. And second serve points won, 56%.
40-15. Talk about the physical strength of Becker. He's so supremely fit now that even though this is a pretty fine first serve, he muscled it back into the open court.
Yeah, I talked about that shot like the other day. It's like the great Australian Lou Hode. Even Rod Laver, you need fantastic forearms, big strong forearms. It's like a forearm jolt, that return.
Sampras holds on with relative ease, 4 games to 3 on serve in the first set.